In his first two chapters, Matthew has told us who he thinks Jesus is, and that is the son of David, the rightful heir to the throne of Israel, and the Messiah. And now he's introducing a new figure in Matthew 3, and that figure is John the Baptist. And it says that John the Baptist appeared in the wilderness of Judea, and he had a message, and this message was, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven has come near." Now, what does that mean? It means that the return of God to his people, or in other words, the return of Yahweh to Zion is imminent. Remember that at the time of the exile, the Israelites were thinking God has left them, God has abandoned them, and now it says, this is the message that John carries with him, now the return of God to his people is imminent. He is finally coming back. Make a way for him, prepare the way for the Lord. Now, who is this John the Baptist that he dares to have that kind of message? Who does he think he is? And Matthew gives us a few very clear ideas of who he thinks John was. Now, the first one is the prophecy that Matthew references here, and that is this one: prepare the way of the Lord, make his path straight. That can be found in Isaiah 40, and it is the context of comfort. This is a message of comfort. It says, God says to and through Isaiah, comfort my people, comfort Israel, comfort Zion. So the ministry that John the Baptist carried out is a ministry in some ways of comforting his people, comforting the ones who are in distress and in need and in need of God. And the other thing that we get to know here is that John wore clothing of camel's hair, and he had a leather belt around his waist. Now, in those days, you couldn't dress like that and not think that you would arouse or provoke some kind of reference. And that reference is, of course, to the prophet Elijah. We learn in 2 Kings 1 verse 8 that this is how Elijah dressed. Why is this important? What is that reference about John and Elijah? Well, there is a prophecy in Malachi 4 verse 5 that says Elijah, if you're interested, his ministry was around 900 BC and Malachi was around 500 BC. So 400 years later, Malachi is prophesying that God will send Elijah, or rather someone like Elijah, someone in the spirit and in the power of Elijah, back to his people. Malachi 4 verse 5. And that person will come and will prepare the way of the Lord. He will be a forerunner of the Messiah. And that was well understood by the Israelites, and in particular, of course, by the Pharisees. That's why in Matthew 11, we learn later that the disciples asked Jesus, why do the Pharisees and the scribes say that that Elijah must come first before the Messiah comes? And then Jesus answers them, if you care to know, if you're interested, John the Baptist is actually the one who is Elijah. Now, what does it mean that he was a forerunner of the Messiah, the one who prepared the way of the Lord? In which way did John the Baptist prepare the way of the Lord? And the answer is here. John was the one who gathered the people of Jerusalem and of all Judea, and they were coming out to him to the Jordan, and they were baptized by him. So in other words, John started a ministry, and when he was killed by Herod, Jesus took over at least a very large portion of that ministry. So when Jesus started to minister, the people in his crowd, the people who followed him, were the people largely that John the Baptist had gathered and had prepared for the message that Jesus then had for them.